all my Cancer friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your January 2025 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Cancer, I'm referring to Cancer rising as the first house and dictating the landscape of the chart. If you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time and location of birth to determine that information. When I talk about a time and a day, it's based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. Let me pull up the chart and let's go jump in because the year starts off pretty intensely. Okay. First thing we see is that Mars and Pluto are in an exact opposition. This opposition was taking place back in the fall of 2024, late October, early November. But at that time, Pluto was in Capricorn and Mars was moving direct through your first house. So right now, we see Aquarius is your eighth house of transformation, of other people's money, of sex, of power and control. And then we sort of overlay this independent, innovative, futuristic energy of Aquarius. I believe what Pluto's doing is wanting to pull out any of the emotional imprints that are holding you back. And as Mars moves back into your first house, I think you're going to be more aware of potential angers and resentments or places where you have not felt your sense of bravery, your pioneering spirit, your passions have been fostered or be able to move forward. And so this is going to give you an opportunity to reflect as Mars is going to be transiting retrograde through your first house until February, I believe 23rd, before it moves forward again. So this, I think, starts off the year rather intensely. We also see that the nodes are at 0 degrees of the Aries Libra axis. Aries is your 10th house of career. Libra is your 4th house of home. And this is going to shift into the Pisces Virgo energy on the 12th. I'll be doing a separate video on that. I'm going to click off of Mars right now. We start the year with 3 planets retrograde. Mars is retrograde, Jupiter is retrograde in your 12th house, and Uranus is retrograde in your 11th house. This is all sort of in the quadrant of transcendence, where you're getting an opportunity to revisit your belief system as Jupiter goes through that 12th house, your everyday life, the things that you want, in the way of how you want your everyday life to run. You may also find yourself reviewing information that you receive or how you receive information, or even your self-talk. Be aware of that and how that either contributes to your moving your story forward or inadvertently pulls your story back. So I think that the beginning of the year starts off pretty intensely. On the 3rd, Venus will move into exaltation. Let me just move over there. You'll see here she starts at 0 degrees of Pisces. And when she goes into Pisces, this is really dreamy. It's super creative. It's very feminine and receptive in that respect. But the interesting thing, I'm going to click on Venus now. We see that there's like a transit yod where the south node at 0 degrees of Libra and Mars retrograding into your first house are making this aspect that's pointing at Venus. Pisces is your 9th house. Venus is all about your self-worth, your beauty, or your handsomeness, your attractiveness, I should say. It's about your partnerships. It's about your money. It's even about your skills and your crafts and how you can use your own personal talents to foster resources and money for yourself. Here, what we're seeing is a focus on Venus in Pisces. The south node here is on pretty much it's within 2 degrees of the supergalactic center, where this is a point within the Shapley cluster that offers you an opportunity to see yourself as source energy. And with the south node there, I believe in within orb and with this yod, it's asking Cancer rising, how do you really feel about the feminine aspects of yourself, your ability to attract a partner, or your ability to create money, or your ability to create beauty and art in the world, however that looks for you. Because when we look, a yod, it is also called the finger of God, and the apex, the focal point, is where what we're supposed to be looking at, and this is the Venus. And Mars retrograde could be where a lack of action, or a lack of passion, or a lack of being able to shift past old hurts or resentments could be holding you back. I just think these things are kind of interesting to me when they show up. Okay. On the 6th, we're going to see Mars move back into your first house. And maybe a little later in the day. So let me just go to the 7th. Well, actually, I don't want to do that. A little later in the day, Mars is going to retrograde, and it's going to go all the way back again to 17 degrees. And right now we see that Mars is making a quincunx to Mercury. Mercury is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is your 6th house of work, but it's also a house of mental stress, naturally ruled by the Virgo energy. And here Mercury is on the galactic center exact, which is a point within the Shapley cluster where we can, through meditation, through intentional conversation with the universe, with our guides, with our angels, we can download information or get inspired solutions to problems or to blocks that we've had. So I think that while Mars can't exactly see how this is playing out right now, because Mars is not only going retrograde, but Mars is kind of focused in on, for me, the way I've been interpreting this is a lack of the things that I want, or somehow being held back. Traditionally, the Cancer energy rules the home and hearth energy of how we were, our family and our traditions in our family. And the Leo energy is very much about self-expression. This is also your first and second house. So you're revisiting a lot of how you have felt valued, how you've been able to assert yourself, to make your own money, resources, passions. And I think that the blind side from Mars to Mercury up here is that you can't see that there's the potential that if you sit in quiet meditation or prayer or go on an intentional walk in nature, you could find yourself having inspired thoughts, which then provides solutions. You might even, because you're water, you might even want to go down and put yourself in some sort of, a hot bath, a salt bath, or even if you have natural water springs or oceans around you, take advantage of that to help facilitate the journey. There is a little bit of a challenge here because there's a square here to Neptune and the North Node. But I think, again, that's because Mercury is in its detriment in Sagittarius, and Mercury's sort of trying to come through the mind. But if we think about it, the emotional body actually rules the mind because we have an emotional reaction to something, and then we process it through our speech, through our thoughts, through our then behaviors. So there could be a little like, I can't see the spirituality in this moment. Let me go to, we're going to go to the 8th, and we will see Mercury will have transited into Capricorn. Now, this is when Mercury becomes, I almost feel like the downloads that are possible during the previous couple of days while taking intentional action towards conversation with your oversoul, with the inner divinity, that starts to give Mercury an opportunity to put these thoughts into, how can I birth or plant them into the earth? How can I build upon them? I don't think this is something you can actually figure out with your mind, because again, we see the square here and to the North Node and Neptune. But I do believe that there can be inspired actions as you move forward throughout the month as Mercury moves through Capricorn. There is a feeling of The outside world, there's a lot of things going on. The United States will experience an inauguration on January 20th. There's a lot of controversy and a lot of energy, I should say, focused around that. So those have ripple effects on us. So that's also where I think the news, the media, Mercury, how we get our information could potentially contribute to a blurring the square to Neptune. I hope that made sense. Because Pisces is your ninth house. So you've been rewriting your belief system for quite some time. And I want to offer this too for my Cancer risings. The first, the fifth, and the ninth house are called Dharma houses, and they offer rewards for your soul's intentional focus and creation throughout your lifetimes. And here we're seeing this up in your ninth house. And we're going to see more action happening here as we move through the year. So I think it's really a powerful time because not only is the ninth house about higher education, foreign travel, and beliefs, here it's very creative and spiritual, but it is also a house of business and commerce. And through your creativity, again, there's the potential to create resources or situations that make you feel purposeful and fulfilled. On the 12th, I will be doing a separate video, but we'll just touch on this real quickly. The nodes will change signs. The North Node will move into your ninth house of Pisces, and the South Node will move into your third house of Virgo. So here, what we'll essentially be seeing is that the South Node will be tasking you to release any thoughts or pattern thoughts that undermine your intentions, any self-criticism, doubts, perfectionism. The North Node will compel and inspire you to stretch for that divinity, for that soul's conversation that is your true north. That the soul comes into the earthly experience because this dense plane offers opportunities that we cannot have when we are out of body. And this is not just about eating and having sex and the pleasures of the physical, but about the choices that the physical has to offer. So this is a powerful time because we're going to see Neptune move into your 10th house of career and public status. In a little later in the year, it'll also retrograde back into Pisces, but Saturn and Neptune are going to be traveling together. So this is going to be very powerful for all of us moving forward. But for you, it's all going to be happening in your belief system, in your potentials, in the potential of broadening and expanding for you. We have a full moon on the 13th at 23 degrees of Cancer. I will be doing a separate video on that, and Mars will be conjunct that moon. So that's going to be a little bit, it could be a little bit angry, but we'll address that later. Let's go to the 19th. On the 19th, we see Venus and Saturn in an exact conjunction in your ninth house. Now, this is the beginning of what will become a big stellium growing up in your ninth house as we get towards the springtime. But here, this particular conversation between Saturn and Venus is really Saturn compelling Venus to use her intuitive body, use her connection to the divine feminine, the receptive energy. This 16th degree is the Cancer degree. So here I'm looking at intuition. I'm looking at the water element. I'm looking at the receptive element. I'm looking at the flow. And I think that's what Saturn has been doing as it's been going through your ninth house for almost 2 years now, really offering an opportunity to create a strong structure with the divinity within that sets the tone for everything you experience in the outside world. So I think this is important. And I also think that the sextile that these two planets make to Mercury feels good to me here because Saturn naturally rules Capricorn. So there's some sort of synergistic feeling of being able to see my spirituality starting to live in the 3D world. There's an integration going on here. And I think that is also supported by the loose trine to Uranus. And I might mention that Uranus is at 23 degrees for the longest time. But I'm gonna get to that when it goes direct. I'm getting ahead of myself. On this day, we also see the sun is just about to enter into an conjunction with Pluto in Aquarius, again, your eighth house. So there will be some sort of epiphany or opportunity for you to see how your ego is either capitalizing on a transformational dynamic or potentially edging God out. And I think that this is a little bit evidenced by the opposition to Mars as Mars is retrograding in your first house. Okay. Mercury will enter. I'm going to go to the 22nd, where we will see a trine between Venus and Mars. Now, Mars is retrograde, but the beginning of this trine it feels good to me because I think that this is where Mars has an opportunity to slow down long enough, to be brave enough, because the 23 degrees is the Aquarian degree. It's a degree of genius. It's the degree of looking to the future, the universe on some level. So I think that this is an opportunity for Mars to be brave about looking at whether or not whatever it's reviewing in the way of what's holding Mars back. And for you, I think there's the potential that there are silent hurts. There are silent disappointments, something sitting underneath the surface. And if that's not the case, then whatever you want to birth in the outside world is giving you an opportunity to review it. Because as Mars moves into your second house of Leo, again, this is your skills, this is your voice, your opportunity to stand on your own stage and birth a part of yourself that you feel purposeful and fulfilled by. And that's what I think is so supportive about this particular aspect. Not a tight trine, but tight enough for me. Okay. Now we let's go to the 28th. And by the 28th, Mercury will have moved into Aquarius and is in an exact conjunction with Pluto. Now, whenever, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are always traveling very close together. I think Venus is never more than two signs away from the Sun. And I think Mercury's never more than a sign and a half. I'm not quite sure. I'll have to check my statistics. But here, as it moves into Aquarius, this feels like a pretty intense conversation about how I think, about the underbelly, the imprint that I don't even know is there. Those things, there are people in the world that every day get up, they eat eggs for breakfast. And then there are people who get up in the world and they eat fish for breakfast. And the people who eat eggs are like, fish for breakfast? No, that's a dinner meal. But these are the traditions we grow up with and what feels natural to us. So here, why I bring that up is because whatever our childhood had, whatever your experience was throughout your process here on the earth, Pluto's bringing something up that is toxic in some way, that is holding back the genius and wanting to air it out, to clear it out, to integrate it. And I think that this is supported by the sextiles to the North Node as it comes into Pisces. It's really making wisdom from the traumas, wisdom from the crises in my life, really, because that's what Pluto represents. Now we there'll be a new moon in Aquarius on the 29th. I'll be doing a separate video on that. So let's go to the 30th, where we see Uranus. Whoops. Uranus is going to move direct in Taurus, and Taurus is your 11th house of hopes and dreams. It is it's an expansive house in the sense that it rules the cosmic consciousness. It rules large systems like the nervous system. And as it rules your hopes and your dreams, I believe that Uranus is giving you an opportunity to break up any old stories that don't support the version that you want to live. The thing that's so interesting about this planet right now is that literally back December 19th, 2024, it backtracked to 23 degrees. Uranus will stay at 23 degrees until March 12th, 2025. I think that's very significant because it's almost as if it's just standing still in the sky saying, are you going to stand in alignment with your hopes and your dreams? Will you break up any old stories that don't support moving yourself forward the way you really, really want to go? And I think it's tense because we see, the square and a half now to Pluto and or I should say a half square from Pluto and even Mercury over to this little cluster of planets here. And that's just making me feel like that north node is me stretching to find the divinity in my traumas. And sometimes we can't. They seem senseless. And if we believe that we are co-creators in every situation and that there are no coincidences, really can be mind-boggling when we go through some things and they seem like I don't even know why they happened. And yet it will reveal itself. Everything has an opportunity to move into an opportunity for wisdom. Now let's go to the last day of the month, the 31st. And here we'll see that this growing stellium is starting. In no short order, Mercury is going to zip into Pisces and Venus will move into Aries in February. And then both planets will retrograde. And I think this is so incredibly powerful and influential because it is in your ninth house. It is a house that is not only rules faith and religion in the form of Sagittarius is the natural ninth house, but Pisces is a very spiritual and religious sign as well. And it's a house of transcendence where you're transcending the earthly experience and into sort of a connection with the universe. So I think that as the end of the month starts and we see an exact conjunction between Venus and Neptune Neptune rules Pisces and Venus is exalted. This is a very, very powerful conjunction for understanding our divinity and how we receive versus having to push out and take action. So I think it's a very, very intense beginning of the month. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Again, I think Pluto and Mars's opposition is really the loud clanging noise in the background of everything. So I want to encourage you all to be mindful because people will be sort of easily triggered. A lot of people will be caught up in sort of an interpretation through their own ego. And while, the ego is the part of the personality that serves our choices, sometimes we're not aware of the fact that it's making choices. All right, that's it for me for January 2025 for my Cancer risings. I want to wish you a wonderful new year and all your best in 2025. Please wait to the end of the video. There are 2 more videos for you. There's your yearly where I go month by month and point out some of the highlights that are coming up for this year. And then monthly, I do a love and money tarot card reading. So look for that. And I will be back on January 5th live on Sunday morning where we do our tarot card reading and we get the angel's advice for traversing the transits on the week ahead. All right, everybody, please please subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell because there's lots of content coming out this year that I think is going to be really helpful for you. Okay, see you soon.